Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my mini art talks. So glad you've joined me today. Today, I'm going to show you a painting by one of my absolute favorite Impressionist painters. So let's begin. Now, this painting is called Woman at Her Toilette, and it attempts to capture the essence of modern life, which is what Impressionism was all about. It's a very private moment of a woman alone in her boudoir getting ready to take down her hair. Now, this painting is by Berthe Morisot. She was born in 1840, and she came from quite a wealthy family, and they were able to afford art lessons for their three daughters. And two of those three daughters, Berthe and her sister Edma, showed really a lot of promise. And there's such an interesting letter from their art instructor to their mother, and I'm going to read it to you. He said, "Considering the characters of your daughters, my teaching will not endow them with minor drawing room accomplishments. They will become painters. Do you realize what this means? In the upper class milieu to which you belong, this will be revolutionary. I might say almost catastrophic." And I'm reading this to you because I want you to see what something of what the position of women was in society at that time. Upper class women could certainly dabble in painting and decorate fans maybe and decorate plates, but they certainly shouldn't think about having a career as an artist. And that's what this art teacher was trying to warn her parents about. Now on the left here, you have a self-portrait of hers from quite a bit later. And then on the right is just one of my favorite photographic portraits of her. And you can really, really see how lovely she was. Now she mixed in the same social circles with Edward Manet. And they became close, and he painted her many times. And you can see here on the left is Berthe Morisot with a bouquet of violets from 1872. And on the right, his wonderful painting, The Balcony, and you see Berthe there on the left from 1868. And both of these paintings are in the Musée d'Orsay. Now, Berthe went on to marry Manet's brother even. So the families were very close. But even Manet had, as much of a rebel as he was, even he had these notions about women and what they could do. And you know, his own wife, was a very accomplished pianist, but regardless, he once said, and he's talking about Berthe and her sister Edma, who was also a painter, "The Mrs. Morisot are delightful. What a shame they aren't men. Nonetheless, they might, as women, serve the cause of painting by each marrying an academician," meaning an academic painter, "and bringing discord into the camp of the enemy. It's asking a lot of devotion." Right? So the best that a woman could do really was to marry a painter, since they couldn't be a painter themselves. So let's go back to our wonderful painting, which is at the Art Institute of Chicago. Now, Morisot was a founding member, along with Monet and Renoir and Pissarro and Alfred Sisley and Degas, of this group of young artists who just hated getting rejected time after time after time at the Salon, and they decided they were going to have their own art exhibitions. And Morisot, even though she did not hang out with any of these guys at the cafes where they would hang out and discuss all these new ideas about modern life, she still did know all of them and met all of them. And they invited her to join this young group. And one of the reasons why they were considered so radical was because they did have a woman in their ranks. So they decided they were not going to submit their paintings to the Salon anymore. They were going to have their own art exhibition, which they did. They had their first one in 1874, and then they had 7 more after that, all the way up until 1886. Now this painting here, this painting was in the 5th. And these exhibitions came to be known as the Impressionist exhibitions. And this one was in the 5th, which was in 1880. And it actually got good reviews because initially in 1874, the work was universally panned. But by 1880, the critics were starting to get used to a little bit this new style. And in 1880, this work actually was lauded at the fifth Impressionist exhibition. And after that, she decided she was never going to submit to the Salon again. And one critic wrote about the exhibition afterwards. His name was Paul Mans, and he was the critic for Le Temps. And he wrote, "The truth is that there is only one Impressionist in the group, and that is Berthe Morisot." And then it was actually interesting to know that it was Morisot who encouraged Manet to go outside and paint en plein air. And you see his palette starting to loosen up and his colors starting to brighten up. And that was because of Berthe Morisot. Now this painting really just, I think, is so important to note that it moves quite discreetly, but into the realm, I think, of female eroticism. And of course, that had been explored by Degas and Manet and Renoir and Monet and all of these guys who painted all these nudes in all kinds of intimate settings. But it was a topic that was seldom painted by women. And letting us into her private boudoir here is her way of broaching that subject. Now this painting, if you look, it's just rendered with this amazingly soft, fluttering and feathery and very, very gestural brushstrokes. And there are all kinds of nuanced shades of lavender and pink and blue and white and gray, and all of the brushstrokes just dancing across the canvas. And on the little card at the Art Institute of Chicago, when you read about this painting, it says that the composition resembles a visual tone poem. And I think that's a really wonderful way to describe this painting. It's very radical, it's very tender, it's modern, and it's Berthe Morisot showing us that she is the quintessential Impressionist. Now, we can see here exactly how all of these different elements come together to create this wonderful Impressionist painting. Now, it was in an exhibition, as you can see here, it's in the middle here, of her work at the Dallas Museum of Art in 2019, just last year. And before it went to Dallas, this exhibition had its start at the Barnes Foundation in Philadelphia, and I was lucky enough to go to it. And it was a wonderful exhibition. It was so great to see these paintings. I knew all of her work very intimately from reproductions, but to actually see all of them, it was really wonderful. Now, Berthe Morisot once said, "I don't think there has ever been a man who treated a woman as an equal, and that's all I would have asked, for I know I'm worth as much as they." Such a wonderful sentiment for somebody in the 19th century. Sadly, she died in 1895. She was only 54 years old, but she left us with 860 paintings. But unfortunately, in a very, very cruel irony, on her death certificate, in that little space where it said profession, the clerk had left it blank. Women just didn't have the profession of being an artist back then. You just assumed she had no profession. Now, my little mini art talks here, they're really just a snapshot of what I think is an astonishing work of art that I want to communicate. And I really just mean to whet your appetite. And I hope after you see these that you'll then go online and look for more of these works. And then, of course, when we are able to go back to museums again, to try to go and try to see as many of these wonderful paintings in person as you can. And before I go, let me just remind you, if you are on Facebook, if you put Janet Mandel Art Talks in the search bar, and then look for my little Art Talks logo here, you can join me there. And I put things that I think are interesting that are happening in the art world around the world, really, mostly in the country. Also, I do have a YouTube channel, and if you put my name into the search bar there and find that logo, please join me there. And I entreat you to subscribe, press that button to subscribe, And also, if you hit the bell next to the subscription bar, you will get email notifications when I do upload a new one. And then I am on Instagram, not as much as the other things, Art Talks with Janet. And then I do have a web page. You don't have to memorize this URL. If you just put Janet Mandel Art Talks into Google and click on it and look for my logo, that'll come up as well. And in the schedule button of my Art Talks page, I have my schedule for my online talks that I'm doing. And I have several for a plan for August. And then, of course, in the fall, I'll have a full schedule. Some of them may be in the late fall, maybe in person, I don't know, but definitely many of them will be online. So again, thanks so much for coming. I hope that you enjoyed Berthe Morisot and that you will start looking for her a little bit. And I'll see you next time at my next mini art talk. Bye-bye, stay safe, wear your masks.